The Entrepreneur's Library, Episode 8.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Library, the only book-centric podcast that reviews all the top-selling business books and shares authors' perspective firsthand. This is your resource to finding the next great book that will enable you to grow personally and professionally. Welcome your host, Wade Danielson.
Thank you for joining us today on the EL. Today we have Susan Baroncini-Moe, author of Business in Blue Jeans. Welcome, Susan, and thank you for joining us on the Entrepreneur's Library.
Well, thanks for having me, Wade.
Definitely. Will you take just a moment to introduce yourself and tell us just a little bit about you personally?
Well, sure, absolutely. I'm the CEO of a company called Business in Blue Jeans, and we are a digital marketing and consulting firm. We do really full-scale marketing all the way down from, we teach you how to do it and we'll train you how to do it all the way up to we'll do it for you. And I do also a lot of business coaching and work with a large variety of kinds of clients. And I've been doing this for about 16 years now.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Now let's jump right into your book, Business in Blue Jeans, which was just made available for purchase on June 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Susan, we're going to move quickly, but here are some of the top questions our listeners would love to get answered. So the first one is, what was the inspiration behind writing Business in Blue Jeans?
Well, I've always wanted to write a book, and I wasn't sure what that book would be, but I was working with a lot of people that I found myself kind of saying a lot of the same things, and I realized that there was a way for me to take what I do with my clients one-on-one and turn it into a book that people who couldn't afford to work with me at the time could grab. And it's a lot easier to grab a book than it is to hire a coach, and I think there's less risk both financially and emotionally, and sometimes people find it a little scary to work with a coach. And I thought, I'm going to put this in book format so that people can really get a taste of my philosophy of doing business and how I do it differently.
You talk about your philosophy, and that's a good lead way into our second question, which is, what makes your book different from others regarding the same topic?
Well, there are a lot of books on the same topic, but there are a couple of things that are different about my book. And certainly, at the end of the day, most of the knowledge that's out there is already out there, right? Most of the things that we know about business are the same old school, tried and true fundamentals of business. And we know that those things work. And there's a reason why we're all saying the same things. But the way I say it's just a little bit different. I don't start with, let's grow your business or let's start your business. I start with, what do you really want out of life? Because what's most important is, we can create a business. I mean, that's pretty easy for me to do, is create a business and to know the strategies that are going to make that business work. But what's really important is, what if we create a business that you hate running? So let's figure out what you want out of life first, and then design a business that makes that life possible. And there are a lot of strategies to do that. So that's the first thing that makes me different, is that I'm really all about creating a business that makes sense for each individual person, not cookie cutter stamping business after business after business. So that's why I talk about having your own business in your own style, on your own terms, because that's what I really mean. And the other thing is that this book is based on fundamentals, because we all need those fundamentals. And if your business isn't growing, it's most likely because you need to find out what fundamentals you're missing. But it's actually written for both people who are starting a business and people who are in growth. And there's homework assignments throughout the book for both audiences, primarily because when you work with me, I give you homework every week. And so I wanted to include that in the book as well.
Excellent. Okay, very good. I love books that are like that because they make you think. Books that aren't just that bring you into it, that engage you. So I love that that's a part of your book. Now that we know a little bit of the background of it, though, this is my favorite part, where we do a deep dive. And I'm not going to interrupt you, whether you go chapter by chapter or section by section. I'd love for you to take us through the book, through your creation, I guess I always call it, and let us know what it's all about.
Through my baby?
Yes, exactly.
The book, as I said, the book is really designed to be as close to the experience of working with me one-on-one as I could put in book format. So when you read the book, it is very much like the way I work with my clients. And so it is, in a way, kind of built from the the strategy of a startup, insofar as these are the steps we go through to start a business. But any business that's, that's already in growth can look at this book and go, okay, I can find something in here that I'm missing. And all the time people say, well, what if I'm not missing anything? And I'll say, well, then you're pretty darn successful. So you don't need the book. But pretty much anyone can get something out of this book. So I start with, look, you're not alone. Here are the things you need to know. When you read this book, I want you to feel like I'm right there by your side. So when you read the book, it sounds a lot like the way that I speak. It's written to be approachable and friendly, and for you to read this book and feel comfortable and like you're in a safe space. And that's how I want my clients to feel too. So it's kind of the way I operate. And I talk a lot about how there's no real get rich quick in business. It's really not about get rich quick. And I mean, there are a lot of people out there in my industry who are saying otherwise. And there are certainly ways to make the process easier and smoother and shorter, but it's really not about going super fast and getting rich quick. I kind of give you an overview of the book in the introduction, and that's kind of the way I run it. The chapter I start with is brain junk. And I start there because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how wonderful your idea is or how great you are at marketing that idea. At the end of the day, if you don't work on your brain junk, you will sabotage every piece of success that you're able to create. Because we all have these ideas of whether they're about ourselves, our business, our money, which is a huge one. And if we don't deal with those ideas and make sure those ideas are taking us in the positive direction and moving us forward versus holding us back, they're going to hold us completely back. So I spend a lot of time focusing on brain junk because I do think it's vitally important. And I also cover how to take care of yourself because you're your own best resource. And if the captain goes down, the ship goes down with it. So really, we talk a lot about, stress, sleep, taking care of yourself, time management, relationships, and things like that. I think those are the fundamental places to start because they're really building a solid foundation. I move into what I call the fire, which is really, I sort of divide it into the heart and the glow, and it's really about what you love doing and what your business makes possible. And I think that, these are two things that are really important to finding a successful business. So when you're starting to find a business, when you're deciding on a new business, let's say you're just starting out, you want to know what do I love doing and what am I good at doing? And it's at the cross section of where those two things meet that you're going to have the most likelihood for success. Now, there also has to be one other ingredient, which is, do people want what I have to offer, right? So you really want to be paying attention to, the fire and the expertise together, and they have to work in harmony because you can be passionate about something, but if you don't know anything about it, you're not going to have a successful business because you won't understand the marketplace, you won't understand the industry, you're going to be in trouble from the start. So you want to make sure you have both the fire, that excitement and the thrill of what you're doing, and you want to really love it. And you also want to love what it makes possible. So that means, it's not just that you love what you're doing all day long, but it's also that you love what your business makes possible. So in my life, my business makes my real life possible. That's what I like to say, is that I love my business, and I'm an entrepreneur, a teacher, and a writer at heart. But my real life is the life I have with my husband, where we, spend time together. We travel the world. We go out in a boat and hang out on the weekends, and we do all these fun things, and we have this really great life together. And that's what my business makes possible, is that I can travel and do the things I want to do. So you want to love what you do, but also what you do makes possible. And then you also have to be really good at it. And I kind of talk about things that can get in your way along the path. So once you figure out what you're going to do and you know that your business is centered in the right place, then we talk about what I call the packaging. And this is not just packaging in terms of like branding and, kind of coming up with your visual branding, but also packaging that sweet spot between the fire and the expertise into an actual business. Like, how are you going to make money from this? So we talk about things like target market, mission statements, competition, which I call your peers. I don't like to call it competition because I don't think we have to be in that space. We talk about how to develop product and service offerings and creating a business model and how to deliver products and services. And really we talk a lot about branding as well, because that's a really difficult thing. I think creating a visual style for your brand is a very difficult thing. And the other piece to this is that there's an interplay that gets a little tricky. And there's both the interplay and what I call the weirdness. And, packaging's not linear. Knowing your target market and kind of creating your product and service offering, it's all kind of a jumble of back and forth. So you have to be prepared for that. You also have to be prepared that doing creating a brand for a business or rebranding a business is a big, tough challenge for anyone. So we talk a lot about how to handle those challenges and kind of how to get over that hump. And then I have a chapter called Leaning into Your Marketing, which is basically a philosophy of really going a step beyond engagement marketing. And so it's really about how to create a marketing brand. What are the big mistakes in branding that a lot of big companies that are very successful are making? And leaning into your marketing is really about targeting, making sure you understand your target market and you're engaging with them consistently, and that you're also educating them. And then I also include a piece on marketing with conscience, because I think it's important that we make the world a better place. It's just a good way to show up. And the last chapter in the book is about the village. And this is really about creating a support structure for your business. And so I talk about masterminds, which are really great communities. There's an idea about masterminds that it's, lately that you call in and listen to people talk for an hour and that's your mastermind, but that's not what masterminds are supposed to be. And so I talk about the real intent and the perfection in the mastermind and why it's such a great concept. And then I talk about networking and getting your administrative staff together to help you manage your business, and then having a good advisory staff like lawyers and accountants and coaches and consultants and the people that can really help you and who know the answers to the questions that you have. And so the book is really kind of a comprehensive, all-inclusive book, and it's designed really to give people a really good start or a really big burst in their growth. So that's the book.
Excellent. That was a great summary. You were very thorough when you went through, and it's a great segue too, because there is so much content. If if a reader read this and they could only take away one thing, one action item, one principle from your entire book, what would you want that to be?
I thought a lot about that when you sent me the questions, and I guess I think that the thing that I think is the most important in the book is the chapter on brain junk. And the reason I think it's the most important is that it's the starting point. If you don't address your brain junk, every step of the way is going to be impacted by your brain junk. You're going to think too small. You're going to brand yourself so that you sound like a really small company. You're going to, there are all these things, and you're going to, charge too little. You're going to do all these things that are going to impact the path of your success or the lack thereof. So I think the first and most important thing is the brain junk.
Okay, great. So people love quotes. They love great quotes. You probably have favorite quotes, but this is kind of an odd turn, because I want to know, out of your book, what was your favorite? So this is, it might seem like you're bragging, but what was your favorite quote that you wrote out of this book?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I looked and I thought about it. I mean, it's such a hard question, because I always find it weird when I'm doing a speech and people live tweet something I've said, and it's always so strange to hear yourself, but
Yes.
I guess, okay, I marked this one. I'll read this. Okay. This is a sentence I'll read to you.
Okay.
What builds success is creating a stable, strong business that's based on fundamental principles, and then fusing that solid foundation with the best performing strategies that apply to your business and your target market. That's what I'm going to teach you in this book.
That's perfect. That was a great one. See, that wasn't so hard. No, that was perfect. That was very well done. And I always love to ask authors who've written books what a book that helped change their life. So is there a book that you've read that, and I can already tell from what you're talking about, this is a book that'll help people break down paradigms. Even what you're talking about, that brain junk, if you can switch someone's and help them change their, create a paradigm shift and get rid of that junk, they're going to be successful. So what's another book that has created a paradigm shift for you?
Yeah, this is going to be a weird one because it's not a business book at all. I mean, I could give you a list of wonderful business books, but I just read a book and I actually interviewed the author because I loved it so much. Um, and 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 the book is called Go Wild, and the author is John Ratey, MD, Ratey. And it's a book about how if it's like this the book blew my mind because the science in this book was just like it made me feel so smart. And so, so I think, it's all about how we've gotten away from what's really important in life and how it's making us sick. And so this book is kind of about how if you exercise and you eat really well, and it's not always in the ways that you think, and if we kind of get back to the things that are important, like tribe, and we surround ourselves with the right connections, and we get back to nature, that we actually can make ourselves not just smarter, like our brains will actually grow, but also we will be happier and healthier and live longer. And this book just blew my mind. It was one of the best books I've read in a long time. So now I'm off reading all of his books.
Oh, wow. I can't believe I haven't heard of that because that's something that I try and focus every day on wealth, health, and relationships. And it sounds like that one that you just talked about was definitely on health and relationships. I mean, when you talk about tribe and that kind of stuff. And so that sounds like a winner. I'm gonna have to look that one up.
It's an amazing book. I read it in 2 days. I couldn't put it down.
Oh, yeah, those are the best kind of books. Well, great. Well, Susan, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate this. The listeners are going to get a huge amount of value out of listening to this, and they're all going to go out and buy the book after they listen. But before we depart, can you recommend the best way for our listener to learn more about you and your book, Business in Blue Jeans?
Yeah, businessinbluejeans.com. And when you go there, if you sign up for my email newsletter, of course, you get actually the first chapter and the chapter workbook for free.
Oh, excellent. Okay, very good. That's huge value.
Yeah, and there are also workbooks for every chapter because I like to, I think it's easier to work through those kinds of things. So when you buy the book, you get the workbooks.
Okay, excellent. Thanks again for listening in today. If you'd like to get your hands on Business in Blue Jeans or any of the other resources mentioned by Susan, just look at the show notes at the elpodcast.com.
Looking for your next book idea? Head over to the elpodcast.com, where Wade shares his amazing resource, the top 10 business books recommended by over 500 entrepreneurs, with you for free. That's the elpodcast.com. Till the next time, keep it on the EL.